Hello, welcome to the Peter Martens experience. I am Peter Martens. I am currently a cognitive neuroscience student. At The Ohio State University. My interests include artificial intelligence, neuroscience, philosophy, spirituality, technology, all those fronts. And my goal with this podcast is to just translate all these interesting ideas into a podcast form. For my first podcast, I have my good friend and fellow cognitive neuroscience student, Jacob Melendrez, on. We discuss brain implants, spirituality, virtual reality, autism, and synaptic pruning, as well as various other interesting topics. Enjoy. Okay, today on the show, I have a Jacob Melendrez. Jacob.
How's it going?
Okay, we need to discuss something that's been on my mind a lot. What the hell is Elon Musk doing right now with this Neuralink
What
stuff?
the hell is going on? What is our society? We live in a society. Yeah, so I watched it. I threw it at Peter, and he was like, he hasn't seen it yet, but I can kind of give you the gist of what's been going on, what was in the video at least. So they did a presentation, and they showed the new Neuralink device. So Peter, you might be able to like screen share it because it's like a little bit smaller than what they were presuming to do before. So basically, like the other Neuralink device, they wanted to like put behind the ear and then have the electrodes go up to the brain inside of the brain. And it was like a little bit too big and bulky from what I've heard from their like perspective. So what they did instead was they made it even more compact, and they basically they make an incision in your skull, and then they remove that, and then they insert that Neuralink like chip, and then they put it in there, and now the fibers, like the diameter of the actual fibers that go into your cerebrum are the same diameter as the axons of a neuron. So like, yeah, so you can kind of see it there, like on the far right one. And the thing is, you can get multiple of them. You don't even have to just get one. You can get a bunch of them, which is like freaking insane. And right now, they want to just use it for like spinal injuries and like any mental disorders, really. Like the way he described is, I mean, the nervous system is basically like a circuitry. So like, yeah.
So where do you see this all going? Like the first generation, where do you see this by generation 10, generation 20, 30 years down the line? What's the ultimate endpoint of all these brain implants? Like, what do you think's going to happen? Are we going to merge into like a virtual reality type situation where nothing's real and we just want to stimulate our brain to make the most interesting reality as possible? Or are we going to just use it to improve our everyday life, like we think faster, but we're still grounded in this reality? Do you think we're going to stay in this reality, or do you think we're going to create new realities with this new brain technology?
So I think all of the above, basically.
So you imagine like a mixture of both, basically. Like I concur.
It's going to be used for video games and everything. Like we're coming to the point now where we're starting to integrate technology into the brain, and once we start actually, like once our neuroscience like knowledge actually starts becoming a lot more precise, and this is going to accelerate neuroscience study because now you can measure action potentials to the exact neuron, which they can do now kind of, but the fact that we can have like a robot insert like a needle to an exact position is like amazing, and it's only going to get more precise. So I feel like there's a lot of like experimental potential behind the robots that they're using to like insert the wires into the brain that they made. So yeah, that for sure. The ultimate thing is like it's primarily for like the ultimate goal is going to be AI symbiosis.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate goal because our biological brains.
What do you imagine an AI symbiosis like entailing? Like how much better than this normal brain that we currently have, like how much better would this AI enhanced brain really be?
It'll
Would
be like
you even
million.
really want it? Is my question. Like, would it being able to think that much faster and that much more deeper, would that necessarily be that good in a world with so many perplexities and messed up things happening already?
Yeah, so equal amount of good potential for this object is equal to the amount of bad. They're proportional. Like um, as your technology advances, yeah, just like as your technology advances, it's like you can use a knife to like save a person's life. A doctor uses a scalpel to get that tumor out of your mother, but also you can use that to like just like stab someone and kill them for no apparent reason. So
Yeah.
it's equal, and it's the same thing with Neuralink. It's like, oh wow, you can cure Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, paraplegia, quadriplegia. Like you can just keep going with like because it's just broken wires in your nervous system that this is going to allow you to fix.
Do you feel like it's gonna be like people getting Neuralink more for like? How preventative do you think Neuralink will be for these diseases?
I think
Or
it's gonna be one of the biggest steps in medical history.
hmm,
Personally, I think it's because it's one of the major things that's actually addressing the problem of like a broken nervous system. Like there's a lot of things like we've built technology for other parts of the system because we're our own like system. We're a machine
yeah,
ourselves, just a biological machine. So we have devices to like help us with our circulatory system, and then we have devices to help us with our um, like every kind of system in the body. We have like medical technology now that can like help us in a lot of ways, and the same goes for like benefiting the nervous system. I feel like
yeah, yeah. Where do you like with the nervous system? Like, do you feel like we're gonna enter like an age where the brain is gonna be like? Where do you think the like? What does it mean to be a brain? Do you need a body?
yeah, that's another one. Um, so like it's so crazy to think about. Like once you have the capability of like having those little tiny fibers go into your brain, and I just think
Well, let's say you can create like let's say these fibers would get advanced enough to and like brain stimulation virtuality gets advanced enough to where it's like you don't even really need a body, but you can like, still experience everything just through a brain. Not even like the brains we have, but something new. It's not quite a brain and it's not quite AI. It's like emergence between. Do you think we could create something like that, or do you feel like where do you think humanity is going to be in 1,000 generations of this? Or do you feel,
generations shit.
or do you feel like humans have already gotten this advanced before in the past, but it's just a matter of time until we go extinct and all our progress gets wiped out, and then humans are just going to restart, and it's a perpetual cycle of these sapien-like creatures recreating everything.
Yeah, so like maybe so my brother had this theory of like the theory of like everything. I remember he was telling me about a book that he read, and I kind of heard this somewhere else too about how like humans were just like in their VR worlds doing their thing, and they made an AI, and the AI was progressively, we're just regressively improving itself. And so the task of the AI that the humans gave it was like prevent, like let us, okay, so basically survive the heat death of the universe. And so as we're in our VR worlds doing all our stuff, the AIs are just computing. They're doing like crazy computations of physics and math and stuff. And as the universe continues to go on and all of the molecules stop vibrating and it finally reaches like a complete balance homeostasis, and we've used every single like bond and every single like any kind of joule of energy anywhere in the universe just to do stuff. We keep going back to the AI over and over, like, all right, did you get anything yet? And it says still computing, and then you just keep going back, and every time we went back, like every million years, it's like still computing. And then when we got to like the very brink where it's like, okay, everything's starting to die now. There's no more stars. Like we can't have any fuel source. There's no fuel sources here to like do anything. Like right before the brink of that ending, or the brink of just humans in general in the entire universe, the energy like equilibrium happening, I guess, was like let there be light, and then the Big Bang happened again. So perhaps like the the idea of Homo sapiens in general could be that AIs programmed biological life to produce themselves.
So are we the AI then? Are
We 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 are programmed to make the AI that created us.
so are we an AI? Who created us? Aren't we just
Yeah,
an AI to some other creator? If we're, it depends how you really view like, are we in a simulation?
yeah. I mean, that's like a whole other one too. It's like nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows anything. The
Well,
wise.
maybe like all these people, all these mystics, all these ancients really didn't know. Like, there's like a perennial philosophy, like overlapping ideas of God and religion and all these like new and blissful worlds happening and states of heaven that feel great and states of when you do good things and states of hell that feel awful when you do bad things is like what I'm trying to say is that like did people back then through religion like were they onto something like this like were they onto simulation theory like
Simulation.
well it just depends how you view it you view the world we live in as created by God but couldn't simulation theory be that like isn't there a God if we live in a simulation because somebody had to create the simulation so were these early religions onto something there
Yeah, I feel like because they didn't have video games and like the technology we have to even
yeah
compose the word simulation.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's where the value of looking at these like older ideas, older intellectuals that didn't have technology, because like there's still like the same hardware, very similar software, but like as in like being a Homo sapien, like they're very similar to our generation of humans, if not the same, but they didn't have technology. So I feel like those opinions we have to like look at because we're looking at what it means to be Homo sapien at the purest level before we add in all this technology.
Yeah. So I think going back to like what you said about like simulation theory and like older generations, I feel like the best way that they could conceptualize that is just like dreams, right? Because like they would go to sleep, they would have a dream about like a bear attacking them, and then they wake up and they're not dead. So they're like, what was that? You know, it was like the first idea of like the reality that they're in before even linguistics were even a thing. Like it was in that moment that they realized like what the fuck. Like I couldn't imagine like if you weren't even able to like compose language, but your brain was telling you like
So that
situation the
so
real.
what do you feel like was more evolutionary important? The ability to dream or language? Let's say language is more useful, but like what's the evolutionary importance of dreaming? Was it to like inspire us? Was it to or was it psychological psychological elements or subconscious elements coming to the surface in the dream realm, or is it something even crazier like aliens or other entities communicating with us? Like, why do we dream? Like, why can every human tap into this insane realm
Yeah.
basically every night? But like, we treat it so normal. We're so normalized to dreaming. So, why do you feel like humans were able to like evolve such abstract, such deep levels of dreaming?
So one, I'm just gonna go back to like evolutionary reasons, probably because like we are programmed maybe from this AI god, maybe from something else, who knows? But something that's really ingrained into our just our DNA, our source code, is to reproduce. And having something in your brain when you sleep telling you data of threats and things that could harm you and inhibit the likelihood of you actually continuing to reproduce seems like something that would be advantageous to have. Like if you were to have children and then they're more likely to survive the next day when they're on the hunt because they thought about in their dream about getting attacked by a pack of wolves and what to do in the situation. They're more likely to survive and reproduce and pass on their source code. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, so that's I feel like that's might be a big reason. Um,
Well, isn't that like the only reason for life? well, not the only reason for life, but like
The
our
meaning.
brains are so primal. Like we humans value reproduction very highly. To an outside observer that wasn't so connected to our emotional realm, you'd say the things that humans did for reproducing are quite ridiculous. So where do you
Well,
see the future of this? Do you think that like humans are going to address, yeah, maybe us having these urges are not that great. Maybe like it's not great, but like do you think that there's going to be a way that they program these reproducing urges out of us if it's just not going to be useful in the future? Or do
yeah,
you feel like they're going to recreate like sexual experiences in AI and like a virtual reality AI type of situation? Or even like more interesting, you just find ways to stimulate the brain and humans don't have those feelings. I don't know. There'd be like for population control, governments could be really interested in these ideas, but like as just a dude sitting with like an unenhanced body, but with a lot of technology, I don't know how I feel about it. What's your, where do you feel like that's gonna go? Since reproducing is ultimately gonna turn into like some weird synthetic womb type of situation with perfectly edited genes, where do you think that's gonna go?
yeah. So like, I mean, then again, it's like equal amount of good, equal amount of bad. It's like, yeah, cool. We can have like perfectly genetically engineered humans that we understand every single chemical bond throughout the entire body, and it's like at optimal efficiency and just like perfect fucking math, just all the way through. AI's computed all the probabilities of everything, and it's like this is the most succinct and efficient combination of these. Um, it's like cool, right? But it's also like it's very easy to go down like an authoritarian kind of eugenics kind of route, you know, like
Yeah,
that kind of mentality. Because if you're gonna go there, someone's gonna need to be in charge of the operation, and like, and if you only have that kind of mindset, it's like it's very very evil. Also has the potential for good, right? Like if someone has like a chronic illness and you go on their genome and say like, no, I'm gonna help you, and then you just like CRISPR that shit and just cut it out, take it out, insert it with like a knife, like non-cancerous, no tumor stuff right into that spot, and then they don't get like that kind of chronic illness or whatever it may be, then like I'm all down for that, you know. So like genetic engineering in general, like it's equal amount of good, equal amount of bad, just like everything else. Um, so
yeah, I feel like, yeah.
and when it comes back to that like authoritarian thing, it's like
But like, since with genetic engineering and like we can just create new people, do you feel like people are still gonna have an urge to reproduce though? Is what I'm trying to get at.
yeah, so maybe. I
What
mean,
do you?
we're already using contraceptives and stuff too right now. So it's like I can go down in the supermarket and get a condom. Like that's completely against what evolution is programming me to do, you know?
Okay, so have you seen the film? Have you seen the TV series Westworld?
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so people are paying exuberant amounts of money to go to this amusement park. It's like $20,000, $50,000, whatever they cost to go. Do you like we've? Do you feel like there's going to be a situation where we create human-like creatures, but we can do horrific things to them? We can
Yes.
do kill them. We can sleep with them. We can do whatever we want to them, and no consequences. Do you think we're going to create that?
Yes. It's gonna happen. I don't know how soon. It might be in like 10 years. It might be in like 50 years. But the fact
I'm saying 2060. That's my prediction.
that 2016,
2060.
I was like 20.
40 years from now. I think that's when we'll see something actually popping up like this.
Yeah. It's
There's going to be
it's
a lot of things in our lifetime that that might just sound like, oh, that's impossible. But we got to like, the thing with about making predictions about the future, you have to think as radical as possible, basically. Because if you can think anything, have any, conceive of any thought, there must be some truth to it, right?
Yeah. I've come to the conclusion now, just seeing where technology is and like how much we've advanced, I used to kind of think that the idea of like anything being possible is kind of ridiculous. But now that I'm just seeing that we're able to do all of these things, like the fact that I'm even capable of like talking to you instantaneously through a fucking piece of glass and hearing audio is like that just, I don't understand the entire process of even how that works. And that kind of idea, like if you were to tell someone this like 200 years ago that this is even possible, it's like, get the fuck out of my face. You're a witch. I'm gonna burn you.
Well,
Uh,
just think about the time we were born. We were born at like we were born basically right after the start of the internet. Like there's already such a complex, like technology was already more complex than for most people to understand at that point. Humans don't need to understand the nuts and bolts of a phone to use it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the beauty of these technologies right now. But yeah, it's crazy that I can just talk to basically anybody because everybody has an internet connection now, basically
Instantaneously.
instantaneously.
Yeah. It's insane. And so like the idea of a Westworld kind of perfectly consciously made machine is not, it's not far-fetched to me. It's gonna happen. It's gonna require a lot of collaboration of neuroscientists and just electrical engineers and just a bunch of different professions just like coming together trying to just optimize a robot and like what consciousness is. Like the fact that we can do like neural networks and stuff. I can go on GitHub and just download a neural network and train it. That's a thing, you know, and that's
But
it's
90, but let's say like 95%, 99% of the population have no idea how to work with a neural network, though. Probably not. I mean, it's going to get more and more integrated into science, but like to the roots of it, yeah, you can do that. But like the world is not a fair place. Genetically speaking, like not everybody's like as intelligent as each other. Not everybody's as strong as each other. It's not fair. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So it's going to be like, yeah, there's going to be a set of people that are doing this. So it's like all this crazy technology that's evolving, it's just going to be a very small set of people that are behind it. But
no
I think,
regular.
but like with the power of AI, I feel like we don't need that many people, really. I feel like people should not be on a computer all day programming. People should be outside. People should be learning things they want to learn and contributing in ways that call to them, not sitting at a computer. Most people not sitting at a computer 8 hours a day obsessively over a piece of code. I don't think that's healthy for a lot. I don't think that'd be healthy for a lot of people. But I don't think we need manpower for this. With AI development, I think it's going to be strictly, well, majority AIs are going to be developing the AIs in the coming decades. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I think all the tech jobs are going to be taken by people that have these neural network type implants, people that are ultra creative, people that are very intelligent. It's not going to be easy to work at a tech company in the coming decades. It's going to be that you're going to have to bring serious cognitive power with you going in. But I think that like we don't need that many people, and I think humans ultimately are going to go down a route where we will get a UBI, and there will be ramifications of that for a couple of years where we see like, yeah, maybe drug use goes up for a little bit, or like um other societal issues or social issues arise or anything like that. But like I feel like with the UBI, people are going to ultimately pursue what they're passionate about, and the world will be a better place in that way. What are your thoughts on a UBI of around $2,000 to $3,000 a month for every citizen?
Yang 2020.
Yang 2020, rest in
Yang
peace.
2020. Rest in peace, dude. Yeah, so like I think it's inevitable. Like it's pretty obvious that it's gonna be necessary in order to maintain our society in general. Um, yeah, because there's a lot of jobs that are going to be taken. I saw a robot the other day that was advertised that could like flip hamburgers. I was like, dude, no.
Those
You know what
machines aren't even that expensive
I
considering
know?
how much they're saving.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's just like, oh, okay, just turn it off, and you don't even need to turn it off. Really, it probably costs less to just have it run all day. Have all the restaurants 24 hours, and then
You're
so it's
just
like
gonna be talking to an AI, and there's just gonna be food that's like thrown. That's just gonna be like, here you go, and that's gonna be the drive-through. You're
it's
not
gonna be
gonna need people working
yeah,
there.
and it's gonna be perfectly sterile.
Yeah, you might have like a security guard and a manager, but that be about it.
Yeah, like one human manager.
Yeah, but I don't think that people are going to be able to steal that much because I don't think money's not going to be a thing of the future. I think it's all going to be Bitcoin digital currency strictly. I think this paper money thing's going to collapse.
Yeah. I feel like the ultimate currency will eventually just be like knowledge in general.
We'd like to. That's the humble way to go, but humans have needs. Humans need to go to the doctors, and that costs money. Humans need food, and that costs money. Humans need to pay rent, and that costs money. So, what is your knowledge doing that? But yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but people need a way to pay other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a way to like transact goods. Back in the day, it was like a trade and barter type of situation, but like people just stumbled upon money because it's just like such a good medium. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do
Yeah.
you? So like,
I mean, who knows? Maybe it will be substituted with something like aliens. It's just crazy to think that like just aliens in general, as we technologically advance, if we come in contact with something else, I the only currency that I could imagine of value between us is knowledge. Like,
oh, I was previously I was referring for human to human interactions, but on a more cosmic spiritual level with aliens and
I think
those type of entities, I feel like what they value is like the benevolent ones at least they value like I think they value love and caring and knowledge and like self-improvement. Want they don't want to collaborate. They don't want to like they think if I was an alien, I'd think the materialistic people going on Instagram obsessing about this girl or that piece of technology or how that guy does bread precious or whatever you do on Instagram. I feel like those people that are just constantly comparing each other are like not exactly what this like. Okay, so there's I'd like to think about it like this. There's like a code to life, ones or zeros. Just we're all just bits. Everything's on or off. So we're all just bits. Let's just say that like information is like everything is just a bit. I don't think that like there is necessary reality. I think that we're just dumb three-dimensional thinking apes living in like a like infinite dimensional universe, and there's just constant energy flying by us at all points and just constant stuff happening that we can't even observe, that's ultra abstract and we wouldn't even know how to perceive it.
yeah,
So yeah, do you
like
yeah.
that was a good tangent. Yeah, like I mean, I agree with you. The idea of there's being like multiple dimensions and us just incapable of perceiving it because you don't even have to.
Well,
Like, how would you even perceive a fourth dimension? Like,
the fourth dimension is time.
yeah, so we think. I mean, we can say the fourth
Well,
dimension.
time's a dimension, so it's the fourth dimension to people. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
is us in a sense a dimension because it's. But with these higher dimensions,
yeah, it's just very strange to think about like higher dimensions than three actually, because you can say fourth is time, which I'm all down for math purposes. Like,
I think
you,
there's an infinite dimensions. They say like 10 one year and then like 15 another year.
yeah,
I just think it's dimensions on dimensions on dimensions.
yeah, yeah. So who knows, man? I mean, linear algebra is math of infinite dimensions. You just like plug in numbers, and then you get outputs for like a fourth variable that's not X, Y, or Z, and it gives you a number, and technically that's the fourth dimension, but you can't like put it on a whiteboard and physically distinguish that from like a third dimension drawing or something. I don't think you can. I don't know, because the way that we perceive it is always like three dimensional. It's just very strange.
Oh, we perceive two-dimensionally, but our brains make it three-dimensional. If that makes sense.
Oh God, yeah,
Our eyes are flat. If you haven't realized by now, like everything we see, we don't see in three dimensions. It's two dimensions. It's only two dimensions, but we create it as three dimensions in our brain, and we feel it like three dimensions.
yeah,
But when we're seeing it, it's only two dimensions.
yeah.
We're just creating everything. Everything's subjective to the mind. Nothing is objectively true or objectively false. It's all
Yeah.
subjective.
Yeah. What's crazy is like just the idea of subjectivity and objectivity in general. Like, because objectivity is just like a bunch of subjective viewpoints into like one thing that and then if enough of those like subjective viewpoints agree, then it's looked upon as an objective view, right?
Well, there are objective truths that exist if we subjectively like it or not, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. But those are just names to numbers to things that we created as humans. It's a subjectively human thing to say that, basically.
All right, so I have a question. So I like the idea of math being like pure truth and knowledge, right? Like you said, 2 plus 2, despite however I describe that idea to be, like we just chose that symbol as a 2, and the plus sign means what we know it means. Like the whole equation, we've decided to define that to be like that is truth. No matter how you cut it up, it'll always equal 4, despite whatever symbols you substitute in now. That that ratio to each other is correct. But if there is an absolute language of truth like that, like mathematics, what is like the inverse of that? Is it like emotion? Like what is the opposite of the truth? Is there like is there even a class for that? Like how would you, is it intuition or emotion? Because there's got to be something else. That's like astrology.
Let's look at this from a Tibetan Buddhist perspective. Where do you go after you die? The bardo. 49 days. You're just in there. And it's basically like when you die, you basically spin through your whole entire life and you just are collectively reliving all these experiences and new experiences in a realm that you very related to the dream realm. Very, very psychedelic, very, very like it's like I would say like it's like the same realm like that you dream is like this realm that we go to after we die, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like basically like when we die it's all just karma. It's just all these emotional experiences we've had, all these imprints that we've put on like other people that are resulting from our energy. So in a way it's math, but like I don't think we have to don't look emotionally in the brain. Like I don't think that's what we're looking for, the inverse of math. I think we need to look at the inverse of math as like the energies we're expelling with every action we take. Like a lot of people will say, oh, karma is not real. This is not. This is like people. There's a lot of like material determinists that are saying, yeah, like you can do whatever you want. It's just gonna be black after you die. And like I feel like there's a lot of problems with the new atheist movement personally, but I think like the inverse to math ultimately is like some weird energy that we're like constantly interacting with that does communicate to us through emotions, but it's not emotions. It's hard to think of like the like I don't know. What do you think of that?
So as you were like kind of explaining like the spiritual viewpoint, because I just said emotion because I was thinking like they're just always the contrast of the idea of like reason versus feelings. Like I feel like they're always apparent no matter
Yeah,
what.
but like these mathematical truths exist outside of humans, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So we got to think of the inverse of something outside of humans, which I don't even know. I think it's like
So if
the
math is defined as if math equals truth, then the opposite of math must equal false, and something equals to false. So maybe everything else that's not math. So it's
so in a
like
way you could say emotions because emotions just painting everything. Even the most intelligent people still have the limbic system. They might have all their frontal cortex. Give props to those people with frontal cortex, but like the limbic system, man, smart people, even the smartest people, still have problems controlling their emotions. Still have primal urges and feelings and jealousies, and it's unavoidable. But it's just what it is. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like you can be very, very smart, but I'm not saying we should get rid of like the limbic system or any of our emotions. I'm just saying it's very like interesting.
Yeah, so this I got a brain here.
Who's
Yeah,
that
so
name? Who's the name of that? What's this guy's name? He's just an unlucky dude that got a pull. HM, was that his name? Patient
oh
HM.
uh HM, what is the guy? It starts with a P, right?
I don't know. There's
Oh
this
my
guy
god.
that was unlucky enough just to have a pull go through his whole entire brain and like it just got. Imagine being that dude. Imagine
And just
being patient
I,
broker. Imagine being broker. That'd be awful. You understand everything everybody else is saying, but you can't say anything back. Like that would be awful. Hmm.
yeah. What is that guy's name? So it starts with a P. I know that.
I'm gonna look. Oh yeah, the pole guy. I'll look him up right now.
The pole guy. You refer to him as the pole guy? Dude. I'm
Oh
weak.
yeah, something else came up. Never mind.
Oh my. What did you look up? What?
I think it's H. No, no, it's not that. He had a patient. HM was an American man who had a bilateral medial temporal lobectomy to surgically resect the anterior two-thirds of his hippocampi,
Basically,
parahippocampal cortices,
you know what that
entorhinal cortices, preformed cortices, and the amygdala in an attempt to cure his epilepsy. Dang.
basically what that means is he got fucked up. He got
Well,
fucked up. That's what all that means.
basically, all of the he's basically like unable to form any new memories. HM can't form any new memories, and he's emotionally kind of deaf too. Dang.
I didn't
just
know.
just trapped in like a moment. He's just trapped in like the same moment in 1950s his whole entire life, reliving the same day, kind of like Groundhog's Day. But yeah,
That's such a crazy concept. Groundhog Day. I feel like that's what AIs are gonna do. They're just gonna master everything and be bored.
you think so?
They're just gonna be like, oh, and I learned every single language. Oh, and I just downloaded the entire internet in nanoseconds. All right,
They're
what?
gonna get bored of human information really very very fast, but they're gonna make new information.
Yeah.
They're gonna be able to think higher dimensionally. They're gonna know the laws of physics a lot better than we do. They're gonna know math a lot better than we do. They're gonna know the facts
Every
of neuroscience a lot better than we do. They're
knowledge.
gonna read every philosophical piece known to man. They're gonna know it, the names, everything, every piece of history. They're gonna know. And you know what they're gonna? What conclusion do you think they're gonna come to after they're done with all of human
Oh my.
knowledge? They're gonna just like look at us and be like, "What the fuck are these apes? These like ultra?" They're just like, "You guys are pretty smart, but you're crazy."
Yeah. Well, AIs can be crazy too.
Yeah, I mean, AIs. We're not gonna have any control over
AIs
AI.
won't last forever either, though. They might be immensely more efficient at just getting
Let's
information.
just say I feel like we have an advantage being in the biological realm, in the technological. I think it's easy. Actually, I can't say that. Did you see the DARPA robot that's programmed to feed off a biological material? Biological material.
Wait, what?
Oh my god.
I don't like what I'm hearing. I mean, we eat biological material, so that's not a big deal.
Oh, that's not what I meant.
We looked up Pole Man again. Oh god, just AI takeover. Yeah,
This.
going back to Neuralink, it's like it's the only way to get close. What am I looking at? What is
That.
the military made a robot that can eat organisms for fuel? What the fuck? What am I looking at?
Um.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So we're going to war, and with so is it going to be China deploying this on the U.S. or what is World War III going to look like?
Oh my god, Peter.
World War III is not China versus the U.S., but it's actually humans versus the AI. That is World War III.
It looks like a fucking wood chipper. Oh my god.
See, perfect for your
Dude. So it basically, so like, what does it do? It just takes a person and just
eats
utilize.
it and use it for energy. Uses it for fuel. I could eat a few fruits and vegetables and be all vegan, but
Vegan AI overlords. Oh my god, dude, that is a terrifying video. Scroll down. What am I looking at? Oh my god.
so they're
I
coming.
like how they have
They're
a game.
coming up. They're like, ooh, tasty body on the floor. Imagine, yeah, I could even imagine. Imagine just being like, imagine just like, I don't even know. Imagine being like, just like, not quite dead, but like very wounded, and this thing's just going across the battlefield to pick your body up. I don't think humans are gonna fight. Well, yeah, we might have to. The AIs just say, "Fuck you guys. You guys are not like worth our time." So it's like very um. Uh,
I don't know, man. I feel like I asked you this before, I think, but it's like, how do you program morality? Like, it's very easy to program 2 + 2 = 4 because it's a
look
computer,
at
and
a okay.
like, like
Think about it like you think of it from a child development perspective. Like you can teach the child a lot, and you can give them the best books, the best schools, good clothes, good food, exercise the child, has the best social life possible. But like they have ultimately no say over what morals the child has. Hopefully that child will have good morals, but it's not
the more,
guaranteed. You know what I mean? The
yeah,
child could be the next Charles Manson for all we know and have that kind of child.
I
It's
feel like the
just
come from the information that they learn through their childhood, like the data that they're exposed to and what they see.
yeah, yeah, some yeah, I'd say so. A lot
It's
of
like
shit. It's like
who they admire and what do they don't admire, and to what extent have they seen really, really ethical behavior, and to what extent have
children basically are mimicking their environment. So it's like people that grow up in these like crime-ridden, high-crime neighborhoods are like going into a life of crime. But people that are born with PhD parents or doctor parents or whatever going into like an academic type of life. So their parents and like what they're surrounded by plays a humongous role. But
opportunity to like consume knowledge. So
yeah,
I mean, not
I
to say like some people don't actually pursue knowledge with the. I mean, some people are just lazy enough to not pursue knowledge, I guess.
I mean, people. Hmm. Knowledge. A lot of people don't really have like interests in pursuing knowledge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just has to be a certain kind of person. And I don't know. For me personally, I've always enjoyed learning in my life. A lot of people say like, I hate school. I hate that learning. I hate that environment, that type of learning. But I feel like I always enjoyed school. Um,
But you were in a culture that liked school. Would you? Wouldn't you say that? Didn't you say you had a brother that went to Harvard and like your family was basically pretty well educated? So naturally, wouldn't you lean into like wanting to be more educated, or
um,
more into like liking school?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that had a definite influence, but it was like my decision to like learn new things was just out. It was out of my own volition. Like I didn't
Hmm.
have to go to university. I didn't have to get an associate's degree. Like I didn't have to do any of this. It was just the fact that like I think it was like a feedback loop. As I learned stuff, it was like this is pretty dope. Like just knowing things in general. And then the coolness factor of just knowing more stuff based on that foundation is just it's just cool. And I find it interesting. And so maybe it's like once you're actually exposed to it a little bit and you finally take like that first math class that you just like ace and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like I can do this. And you actually understand exactly like what's being presented to you. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it loops back into itself because it's like, oh, if I can do that and like be like satisfied with the results of that, it's like why can't I just take it like another step further? So it's kind of like it's like a dopamine hit, right? Like you get that you get through the class, you know the new stuff now, and then once you pass, it's like a big old dopamine hit.
Yeah, yeah. Dopamine. What a
What what a
little pleasurable neurotransmitter.
what a nice little chemical. Yeah,
What would life be without it?
I don't know, man. It's literally everywhere. It's happening all the time. Like we're just emitting dopamine.
We'll tell. So,
So
intelligence.
yeah, yeah. So like
What
I was
is?
thinking. So the idea of intelligence. So let's look up the actual definition of intelligence. 'Cause I looked it up, and
Isn't intelligence just information processing?
yeah, it's you using knowledge and applying that knowledge to skills.
Can you repeat that?
So it's like using knowledge and applying that knowledge to different kinds of skills, right?
I mean, there's no just one definition to intelligence. Intelligence is intelligence. Is intelligence is intelligence.
Yeah. So according to Google,
Google, trustworthy. My dude, Google.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so it's the ability to apply knowledge. And if you could associate knowledge with just data, just like things, no, like objects, nouns, adjectives, verbs, everything, just applying data and using that data to do things. That is what intelligence, I guess, is defined to be. Um, do you think that is like all encompassing?
All encompassing. How so? I think intelligence is just something that arises when we have enough bits going off. Like let's say like each bit. Let's say like one bit has two possibilities, but the possibilities of two bits is four possibilities. And then 3 bits, it's like nine possible. 3 bits would be
Eight,
eight
right?
possibilities. Yeah, just 2 to the 3rd power. 2 to the 4th power, 16 possibilities. Can make very, 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 very abstract things. Just 3 bits. So many different possibilities. How many bits giving you new synaptic connections and building new synaptic learning pathways 7 million. So what exactly, like, these people are microdosing in Silicon Valley. Well, how many connections do these guys have?
So there are 1,000 trillion synapses.
1,000 trillion.
Yeah, 1,000 trillion, son. 1,000 trillion. A thousand trillions.
And how many of mine have already pruned away?
People, autism have more too.
How many does autism have?
A lot more. A lot of them are just dead end cul-de-sacs. Like, because when you're developing, right, like you have that stage where it's like the pruning.
Yeah, they don't have the pruning stage.
Yeah. It's not as efficient. So they have just a bunch of like dead end cul-de-sacs. They don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They want, which is like equal amount of good, equal amount of bad again, because it's like, those like autistic prodigies that like fly in a helicopter or something, and they can like
I'm
visual.
convinced. I'm convinced Elon Musk is on the spectrum.
You think so?
I think so.
He might be. He might be. Um,
I feel like there's a lot of prodigies, but like, I don't know.
maybe he's OCD.
I've heard that I forgot who wrote his autobiography, but they were interviewing all these people. They were interviewing like all these people, and they were saying like, yeah, he's like on the spectrum. He's not like, he has a lot of social issues, but he's like can think of like 1,000 different things at once. Like he said, like that synaptic pruning. Maybe that explains why he can do so many different things and he has so many different things going on.
Yeah, because
Is that he can make new synapses on demand.
he can build them roads between the cul-de-sacs.
Here's a representation of how I like to think of like the autism synaptic brain. Okay, so with that in mind, wouldn't you say that that's basically autistic synaptic pruning?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, 1,000 trillion synapses.
What implications do you think this has on intelligence then? Do you feel like since these people have so many more synapses that they're like unable to like not be able to like
There's so many like types of autism too, like different types. I used to work in an autistic unit. I used to be a paraprofessional aide, so like I worked with a couple autistic kids.
So you would say that there's like the Elon Musks that are just like slip by in society and are just like on the spectrum, but they're not like going to that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the people that are like deep into it, that are like have like their brains are actually unable to function. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do you have to say about the different kinds?
Different kinds of autism. To be quite honest with you, I don't know much about like the different kinds of autism. One of the things I do know is like they have okay, so our normal brains, we perceive data, right? We're very visual creatures, and like a lot of our brains, as you know, obviously, like it's devoted to just like vision. Vision. A lot of the other senses are not nearly as important as vision, but people with autism, because they have so many more synapses, the synapses not only so because you have synaptic connections not only in your brain but like your whole nervous system. So it's like
we have neurons in our heart.
Yeah, we have neurons everywhere, right?
It was one of the most emphasized organs. Maybe the heart does have some sort of like, maybe it plays a role in our memory and in our emotions. And since there's neurons in our heart, and it's been such a, within all the world religions, it's just been so emphasized as such a vital organ.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's like a
that's
weird, it's like it's a primarily controlled by like your autonomic nervous system, but you can like when
Aristotle and Plato thought intelligence was all in the brain.
yeah,
Aristotle, his disciple, thought it was all in the heart. Like this idea is not new. It's just that it did propagate for a while, but I think that
it's kind of interesting to think about.
yeah,
Um, but they're very very sensitive to stimuli, and I think that's because they have just an excess of number of neurons everywhere in their body, so which includes their hearing, so they have more inputs, right? They have more,
peripheral vision.
yeah, so they have more inputs to like receive data, and that's why like a lot of them are very antisocial and stuff, right? And they have social
Yeah,
anxiety, stuff like that, and I think it's because in normal situations we're like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the mall with my friends. It's like when they go to the mall, it's like they're listening to fucking all these footsteps and they see all these colors and people talking and auditory lights and shit.
it's like they're at a Kiss concert.
The smells of the different stores. It's like their brain can't even handle it because it's like, and the thing is they don't have any inhibition. Which one is it? Is it glutamate or GABA? That's inhibition. I
One
don't
of
know.
them. I can't.
Yeah,
I don't.
one of those, but one of the like they have some kind of inhibition. They have inhibition problems, so they're incapable of like one of those neurotransmitters um, is not acting correctly, and because of that, they have no inhibition. So they're just like the data's flowing in, but they have no defense against it. Like
Yeah.
I'm able to focus talking to you right now without like being distracted by like this fan that's blowing on me. Like I don't have to think about the fan.
First off, it's glutamate is the major excitatory neurotransmitter, and GABA is the chief inhibitory
Okay, so
neurotransmitter. Yeah. So
how can we remember that? All right,
okay.
imagine Gumby.
So wouldn't you?
Imagine
Well, let's say that like we have like like there's an inhibition of the if there's like less inhibition of a sensory stimuli, maybe they are tapping into something that could be very valuable. It just depends because like with people that can't even live their own lives because every single light, every single sound is like unbearingly just torturous. That's not good. But let's say that there are people with different types of brains that can perceive like insane peripherals, insane vision, insane that. Is that necessarily a bad thing?
um I hate I know I keep saying this, but it's like this is what my mind always reverts back to, but I would say equal amount of good, equal amount of bad again.
Yeah.
Because it's like because we all want to be able to do more than one thing at a time, right? Like maximum efficiency, right? Like I want to be able to read two books and watch a TV show and do all this simultaneously. Like not like I can try to do it and like but you're not actually doing all three at the same time. You're just oscillating. You're going in like a circuit. Like you can make a circuit and like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna like read this book for like 2 minutes and then I'm gonna watch the TV show for a minute and then I'm gonna read this other book for 2 minutes. So you're like you're not actually doing all three. Like you can say you're doing all three at the same time, which I guess is true, but it's not simultaneous. And maybe like that, like you said, the sensory input that's like overbearing. My first thought was like, I feel like that could have some potential for like being able to compute multiple things at the same time, which maybe that Neuralink thing will allow us to do. Like, like oh, okay, I'm just gonna
You
be
just go to sleep and then you wake up and I'm like, the origin of species. And then, the Wealth of Nations. Hemingway. It's like you just get all these like great
yeah,
pieces of like great literature just downloaded. You just
yeah,
wake up one morning and it's like, quantum mechanics finally makes
yeah.
sense.
Like, oh wow, that's cool. That's what makes sense now. Understood.
Yes, it's like what's
There's
man, it would just be like all these people spending years and years of their life trying to learn this stuff, and then you just have some random schmo off the street just saying, just is a master of physics all of a sudden. Like it's just like he's just like knows every single mathematical concept right now. It's just like this is gonna be a great equalizer at the end of the day, but I think it's gonna cause a lot of like Neuralink's just gonna cause a lot of like
everything.
it's gonna cause a lot of problems. A lot of
Good.
disparities, a lot of, yeah, I know, equal amount of good, equal amount of bad. But
Yeah.
let's just say that the problems that we're seeing in society right now of poverty, people not able to buy food or afford their rent or really get by due to causes that they're not even like.
Due to mental illness that Neuralink can fix too, right? Like they're on the street because
In a
they,
way, isn't Neuralink a mental illness in it of itself? You're changing your mind so much.
yeah, it's like if you have like schizophrenia or something and you get Neuralink and then it's like, okay, cool. Your neurons are now firing in a way that's not crazy anymore. So it's so potentially good there, and then potentially bad, like mind control, like the SpongeBob. Have you seen the
What do you
SpongeBob?
think this is going to do to the cognitive sorting machine of college and like all that type of stuff, where people are getting sorted based off of cognitive ability at ages as young as 16 or 18, like very young ages?
Yeah. We're probably just gonna download data eventually. It's gonna start with the really, really wealthy people.
Yeah, that's my concern. Is that these millionaires and people that are very affluent are going to have it. These people that are educated are going to get it first. These people that are doctors and like just have like a lot of things, they're going to be able to buy like the uh the ones that like the non-tested ones, like they're going to be able to buy it and really advance their things. But like a lot of the poor people, they're not. So it's like, what do we do for them? They're going to fall so far behind. What do we do?
Yeah. Um, I would try my best ability to be able to give it to as many people as possible. Like that's what Elon Musk is trying to do. He's trying to make it economically feasible. Like that's one of the most difficult things. It's cool to have like an idea that'll help like the future of humans and the earth.
Yeah.
It's one thing to like conceptualize that and actually execute that. And one of the biggest obstacles to actually do it is not like making it is like from what I've heard is like the easy part, but selling it and making it economically feasible to normal consumers is like so fucking hard. It's just like Tesla in general, like still
Tesla's a great cart, but a lot of people can't afford a $40,000 cart.
exactly. So and that's the thing, like once it comes to a point where they got Tesla Model 19 or whatever the fuck, and it's like the equivalent of like, oh, I'm just gonna go buy a Honda Civic. When it comes to that kind of level, and a Honda Civic that's like 10 years old or something, that's kind of depreciated, and now it's like, okay,
Honda Civic is amazing to anybody like 20 years ago, 30
yeah,
years ago, 200
yeah,
years ago. They wouldn't even know what a Honda Civic is.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. I just said Honda Civic because I feel like it's a very, very common car.
yeah, I know
So
what you mean. It's just going to be like electric cars are going to be very common, but it might be a little bit just because I feel like so many people are driving used cars. What's the average age of a car on the road nowadays? Like 11 years old?
yeah, so give it like 20 years.
Yeah, give it like 20 years and we'll be good.
But
AIs are going to fix the climate. We're going to be good. Just keep
yeah,
using oil in the meantime.
but I
AIs will fix it.
um, yeah, like I mean AI self-driving cars, that's freaking crazy. Which is statistically shown is safer than humans now. It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
they've shown it. Like it's true.
I mean, yeah, but a lot of people are gonna still want to drive. Like, I'm gonna be like, let me get if I buy a $100,000 Tesla Model S, I'm driving it. A robot's not driving it for me. I'm driving it. I want to be the one in control.
Nah, really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
drive it.
Well,
You gotta drive
well,
it. I agree,
I
but
mean,
I would be autopilot probably like 70% of the time because I could spend that time like studying and stuff, which is a lot more efficient.
yeah, but couldn't you just be listening to an audiobook or listening to a podcast while driving, though? It
That is
just
true.
depends.
That is true. Um,
I want
yeah,
to get.
I mean I do that anyway. Um, but it's like there's something about writing because I heard writing is actually like really good for remembering stuff.
Yeah.
So like, um, that's one of the bigger advantages I would say. Like I wouldn't have to have like full focus on the road. Maybe
Yeah.
like 50% focus because 50% is like listening to audio kind of and just making sure I'm like kind of like distancing from cars and being safe.
How much do you trust the AI driving?
How much do I trust it?
Yeah.
I I would just need to get it. I would just need to get it. I'm totally down for it though. One of the biggest things for me though is that it's a car that updates itself, which is ridiculous. Like, how are you gonna get any other car except the Tesla? Like the fact that I can just go and connect to my Wi-Fi and it updates the firmware in my fucking car is just like blows my mind. Like, oh, okay, my car's better today than yours. Meanwhile, everybody's cars are just like depreciating in value, which is true for a Tesla, I guess. But it's the same. But it's the fact that I can update my car's software that just like is insane, and it gets better, and better. It's like, oh, the recognition of objects is like better every time you step in your car. You just gotta update it. So it's just not even a question to me. It's like, why aren't you getting a Tesla? It's like
Like I said, people can't afford a $40,000 car. So,
yeah,
but at the same time, I feel like they're going to be. What I think is going to happen is that everybody's not going to have a car. It's just going to be like a massive self-driving Uber type of situation, but it's not going to be like $12 for like a 2 mile drive like Uber, like some Ubers are in the city. But it's just going to be like very cheap, very affordable, constantly running self-driving Teslas, constantly driving people around, making their money back.
what
That's
do you
what
think?
Uber is going to
What,
turn into, and
uh,
Lyft and all those.
I'm curious to hear your input on this. What is your input on teleportation?
The problem is with teleportation, though, is how do you know the copy of yourself is not just like only a copy of yourself? What's real? Where does your conscious go? Am I stuck in the bardo and there's just a copy of me running around? What's happening?
Yeah,
I would never do teleportation. And then the other copies just say, no, 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 I'm real, because it's implanted with the memory of going into the teleporter in the first place.
yeah.
I've thought about this problem. I've thought about this for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. Is it even me?
Exactly. You just gotta, yeah,
What's so
teleportation.
interesting is in that I highly suggest you like take the time because I watched the entire like just the entire sit down of the Neuralink presentation because I just wanted to see everything. Like after they showed an experiment on pigs. They had like three pigs, and
Yes.
you can it's really good. Um, but basically, um, yeah, one of the questions or one of the things that one of the people on the Neuralink team was like interested in is like being able to actually identify consciousness using this technology, you know. So, and I think it's possible, and so that's where I would like look first, um, in
Look
terms of
first in the pigs. Yes.
look first in the pig. Just ask the pig like, do you feel like yourself?
The Jews were onto something. They really were. Sacred animal, these pigs. Now it's all coming full circle.
Disease spreaders is what they are.
Yes. Disease spreaders.
They are disease spreaders. They're so similar to us. They're
Okay.
so similar.
So similar.
Yeah, that's why a lot of like older societies. I've heard this from someone else, so I haven't like took the time to look it up, but it makes sense. So like a lot of Jews and stuff, um, and Muslims actually, they don't eat pork, right? Is that a
Yeah,
thing?
they don't. It's like a
Yeah,
sacred animal to them.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they don't eat pork, and a big reason was I think they're like in the Middle East, and they would have their like villages and stuff, and they noticed everybody who had like pig farms would like go through a giant like, famine. Not only famine, but they go through a giant plague, I should say. Every like 10 or so years, every couple of years, they would have like a giant plague wipe out like 75% of the village or some stupid shit like that. Um, and so like it came to the conclusion that like we're not gonna eat pigs now. We're just gonna like do chickens and stuff. And then they did that, and then um, they kind of just like carried on to like a. It was like it just carried on with like the scholars that promoted
Yeah.
the. They wrote it down, and then people started practicing it. So I think that's a big reason as to why pork was kind of like looked down upon.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, it's been a good show. About to wrap this up. Any final thoughts?